And we started to find out that, man, life, reality, history, it's very, very flexible. We are the ones that have created this rigidness to our life. And when these guardrails start to crumble, oh man, who knows what's possible? So I'm just super excited. Hey, what's up, man? My name's Case, and this is my channel, Everyday Masters. And today I wanted to talk about, these alternative memories that people are calling the Mandela effect. I want to talk about how this reality appears more to me like a holographic simulation than a matter-based world. And I want to talk about some lunatics because, one of my favorite quotes, I can't find this quote anymore. I've used this quote so many times, dude, and I can't find this quote. And the quote is, if you're one step ahead of the crowd, you're considered a genius. And if you're two steps ahead of the crowd, you're considered a lunatic. So, when I'm talking about a lunatic, I'm not talking about a lunatic. I'm talking about somebody that has these concepts of reality that don't fit in with the mainstream. But man, when you start listening to them, everything makes perfect sense. And so, I just got done watching this video. I've been listening to this guy for about 10 years. And his information is so thought-provoking, so mind-blowing. So, at the end of this video, I'm going to go ahead and play about, 10, 11, 12 minutes of this and just listen to it, man. It might sound really, really crazy, but God, it makes sense, man. It really makes sense. So, if you don't want to listen to it, I'll put it at the end of the video. And I'm living in this small beach town in the Yucatan of Mexico called Celestun. And so it's a really cool, small little fishing village. So I'll just take my kid out and we'll go for a bike ride so you don't have to look at me, when I'm talking about, or when you're listening to this information. So, after my video, man, I hope you check it out. Because, especially those that are having these alternative memories. Because it might start making a lot more sense what's going on down here. On my first video, put your hands up and you felt these frequencies. Dude, you might as well just get those going right now. Because who knows what can happen. Well, first of all, scientists tell us, and most scientists agree that, 99.99999% of the substances that make up our reality, atoms, and if you want to go down to the Planck scale, then it's still empty space. The only thing holding that together is consciousness. Like, sure, everything appears solid. People are like, whoa, why can't I just walk through a wall? Well, you can't walk through the wall because there's a force holding that energy at a certain frequency that makes it appear solid. Like if you saw a tornado's not solid. There's nothing in a tornado. Go ahead and try to walk through that thing. It's not going to work out too well for you. So that's the kind of energy. Imagine, an atom that is being held together with a consciousness that has the force of basically like a tornado. Psychologists have documented cases, dude, just tons and tons of documented cases where the multi-personality disorder, I don't think they call it that anymore, but the multi-personality disorder, dude, when one personality shifts to the next personality, dude, like scars disappear, moles reappear. Like one personality will be allergic to orange juice and somehow drink orange juice and go and just start swelling up. Well, another personality of theirs is not allergic to personality. When that personality comes in, immediately the swelling goes away, the rashes go away. Dude, how is that possible? Like, in my opinion, if one person can do that, then we all can. You know, maybe not at that level right now, but you know, we're taking baby steps into this awakening. And you know, another reason I think that we're living in this field of consciousness, you know, and that we're actually creating our bodies, you know, a billion times a second with our thoughts and our emotions and our beliefs, is the placebo effect. I mean, you know, how can you give somebody a sugar pill and their cancer disappears? You know what I mean? It's because they believe that they've been cured and their illnesses disappear. In medical school, you know, they spend like a half a day on the placebo effect. A half a day. I mean, I don't know, does that make any sense to you? That doesn't make any sense to me. How can 30 to 50% of the healings that happen in a hospital come from a placebo effect, and you spend a half day on it in med school? Does that sound smart? That sounds like that is lunacy. I just don't. No, dude. See, the placebo effect doesn't make sense in a matter-based world. It does not make sense. In a holographic world, in a field of consciousness where you're creating your body with your beliefs, your thoughts, and emotions, it makes perfect sense. Okay? Maybe I'm losing my mind, but the placebo effect is one of the greatest proofs to me that we are living in this field of consciousness. We're having this holographic experience. You know, that sounds crazy, but how about this? So my kids, I remember my kids where I was reading this in the Seth material by Jane Roberts, which is just the most unbelievable information. I still think it's some of the best on the planet. But so my kids come into my office. They're screaming, they're pulling stuff over, getting crazy. And I was like, hey man, I looked at the clock. We had like a half hour. I said, hey, why don't you guys go play for a half hour? Because it's not time for bed yet. So they go do their thing, and I'm reading this, you know, this Seth material. It's talking about how, you know, we're creating our bodies a billion times a second. Then all of a sudden, my kids come back in to the room, and they go, Daddy, I look tired. I feel tired. What is that, dude? So then my kids, you know, they come back into my office, you know, about a half hour later. And they go, Dad, I feel tired. I feel tired. I'm like, okay. I look at them, they look tired. And I said, okay, let's get ready to go to bed. Then I think, wait a second. My kids felt tired. And because they felt tired, their physical body changed to match the way they look. I mean, what is science's interpretation of why people look tired? I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm 50 years old. I look in the mirror. If I look in the mirror every 2 hours, dude, I look like a different person. Basically, every time I look in the mirror. I mean, when I feel tired, I look tired. So, you know, I'm sure science has some explanation for that. But, you know, whatever science, you guys used to think that the sun revolved around the earth. So, you know, what you believe now will probably be proven to be false in another 20, 30, 40 years. So, you know, speaking of science, I just love the fact that, you know, they go out of their way to create these double-blind studies. So nobody has any idea what's going on. You know what I mean? So that tells me that they feel that if someone knows about the experiment or about, you know, the possible results, that they're going to affect that experiment with their thoughts. That's so crazy because science has no room for consciousness in their understanding of reality. None. They zero understanding of consciousness. And, you know, back to the Mandela effect. One thing I wanted to talk about was, oh God, it's just so beautiful here. I don't think I'm ever going back to America. one thing I want to talk about as far as the Mandela effect are, so why do some of these changes seem to be so small? I mean, just the subtraction or the addition of one letter. You know what I mean? Like it almost seems irrelevant. And I'm starting to believe that, the reason the changes are so small is because we've been taught to believe in this concept of linear time. You know what I mean? Cause and effect, that one thing creates the other. And once something happens, dude, it's locked in stone. That is the way it is. Well, obviously us, the ones experiencing the Mandela effect, dude, that's not real. Like, things are changing. You know what I mean? Like, and it's weird because like JFK, like, I know that there were 4 people in that car. There's no, I can't, I don't want to go into how much time I spent and why I spent that time. But anybody that's into conspiracies has had their JFK, time. So, I don't know, it's like, yeah, it's a 6-seater now. But it's the same color. They were wearing the same outfits. It happened on the same day, in the same time, in the same city. So, what really changed? Not much. But dude, what about what that information that what I just played for you? And they're talking about there's multiple histories. And that he actually mentioned that we chose as a mass consciousness to make a shift. I'm not sure if you caught that. But basically, the people that were experiencing the 1968 assassination, and we went back to the 1963 assassination, we shifted as a mass consciousness. So, sometimes when people are like, hey, we all died in 2012. Well, maybe we didn't die, dude. Maybe we just said, we're going to shift. We're going to shift out of this reality because this reality ain't playing out the way I thought it would be. You know what I mean? So, it's kind of tough to figure out what's going on. Something's going on. We know something's going on. Buenas tardes. Look at this place, dude. This place is crazy. I do highly recommend anybody that's feeling the need to get out of America to come check out one of these small fishing villages. Because, I don't know, man, thumbs up. Well, obviously this Mandela effect is for the people experiencing it, it's causing them to think. It's causing them to question their reality. I mean, how can the past be flexible? How can it be changed? When you start thinking about that, your consciousness expands. You're able to take in more information. And what I think is going to happen is I think we're going to start understanding reality more, and that the past and the future, well, the future is obviously flexible, but the past is as flexible as the future. And when we get our heads around that, I believe we're going to start being able to actually control this. I really believe that, maybe we can say, hey, this reality that we're in right now, I don't like what's going on. And we believe what's going on in the present, and we look back and we see these linear events that have led to this. But if the past is flexible, can't we just go back and make changes in the past? I mean, I know this sounds crazy, but is it really crazy? I don't think so. I think we are getting ready to reach a level of control over our existence that is beyond our wildest imaginations 10 years ago. This is how truly powerful we are. I honestly believe that we are flowing through this endless sea of parallel universes, and the only reason that the changes that we've noticed are so small is because we've been locked in to this, we've set up our own guardrails with our beliefs of linear time. I mean, that's all we've been taught is linear time. But dude, all the lunatics now are saying there is no time. Everything is happening now. Everything. There is no time. It's an illusion. And it goes back to the Mayans. In the Mayans in December 21st, 2012, they talked about the end of time. They didn't talk about the end of life. It was the end of time. So maybe the guardrails that we've set up with our belief systems about time, maybe in December 21st, 2012, they started to crumble. And we started to find out that, man, life, reality, history, it's very, very flexible. We are the ones that have created this rigidness to our life. And when these guardrails start to crumble, oh man, who knows what's possible? So I'm just super excited. You know what I mean? I'm just, how could you not be excited to what's going on? I don't get it. But, that's just me. I mean, everything's a hologram. Like when you think about the past memories, dude, that's a hologram. There's nothing, you're not accessing certain memories, you're recreating them. And we do a pretty good job, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying all this stuff's made up, I'm saying, sometimes I don't know what I'm saying, because it's pretty big to take in. I do think that we all have pieces of the puzzle, and which is why it's why I'm making videos, because I think I got my own piece of the puzzle, and that's why I watch other videos, because they have pieces of the puzzle. And one of my favorite lunatics is Nassim Haramein. I mean, he's a physicist, inventor, speaker. And so we've had this problem of unifying, we're all looking for this unified field theory, Like we have these laws that govern the planets and the stars and all the big stuff, you know what I mean? And these laws seem to work perfectly. But when you apply these laws at the quantum level, they fall apart. They don't make sense. They seem to have their own rules. So if all the big stuff is made from little stuff, there should be a theory that unifies everything. And so Nassim, and I think it was in 2013, he wrote the math on his theory to unify, on the unified field theory. And it's so brilliant. Of course, now he's considered a lunatic because it doesn't fit in with the models that people were so heavily invested in. But dude, those models are 8-track players. And I mean, just go listen to Nassim and his concept of space memory. It is so out of the box to what the mainstream science accepts, but yet it makes perfect sense. The people interested in the quantum world today are the lunatics. But dude, they're going to be the geniuses of tomorrow, because that's the way this reality operates. So, another lunatic, which people probably consider would be a lunatic, would be this Dr. Eric Pearl, with the Reconnective Healing. That, I'm a Reconnective Healing practitioner, mentor, and I'm a lunatic, you know what I mean? Like, here I am, and I know for a fact that there's a frequency that I'm attuned to, that I'm a Wi-Fi unit for these frequencies, that I came here to hold these frequencies. And when people are attuned to these frequencies, they go through this evolution in their consciousness. It's like this massive leap in the understanding of our reality. You know what I mean? It's almost like, we've been going around like on this dial-up connection with reality. And the second you start tuning into these frequencies, dude, you get on like this DSL broadband connection. Things start making perfect sense. It's almost like we all live in this box. You know what I mean? Like, it's the box of beliefs that we have. And what we believe determines in our world what is possible and not possible. But that's just because, and what's outside of that box doesn't mean that's not real. It just means it doesn't fit into your box. So it's not real to you. But when I started following the Lunatics about 10 years ago, man, I started pushing on the sides of my walls, on the box that I believe in. And the craziest thing happened. My walls fell down. And I realized that everybody's right. Whatever you believe to be true for you is true. And it was so amazing because it's almost like you're going through life and you're looking through this little telescope. And you're, oh, that looks cool, and whoa, wow, that's cool, that's cool. And you get new information, and your telescope gets a little bit bigger. You know what I mean? And you can take in more information, and you get more information from what you're looking at. I think I saw this video on YouTube one time, and it says, if you have a golf ball size consciousness, then you're going to have a golf ball size awareness. You know what I mean? If you read a book, you're going to get a golf ball size awareness from that book. But as your consciousness expands, you get more from everything. So you got your little telescope and you're looking through it. Then you trade it in on a bigger telescope, and then a bigger telescope. And then one day you realize, you put the telescope down and you realize, dude, I don't need the telescope. You see everything. And so, you can be sitting there right beside somebody else, but if they have their telescope, they're not going to see what you see because they're living in this little box of beliefs. And until they start pushing on the walls of their beliefs, man, they're just not going to see it. And a lot of people, it's amazing. I don't know anybody that's experiencing any fear with these Mandela effects. I really don't. I mean, basically everybody I talk to is seeing the changes. Nobody's afraid. I mean, it seems like there is a group of people that are afraid. And I think the reason they're afraid is because they live in a box that's so small, like they can only attribute these changes to one thing. And it's negative. And it's the fact that they're being tricked. Dude, you're not being tricked. You're being shown the reality is more than you think it is. I see a lot of 7-foot people jamming themselves into a 1-foot box. And dude, life ain't gonna make sense from that 1-foot box. You need to kick those walls down, follow the lunatics, be a lunatic, and everything will start making perfect sense. I swear. I mean, if you think that your thoughts stay inside your head and never leave your head, dude, nothing is going to make sense. Nothing. Dude, if you don't understand that you are actually more like an antenna and every thought and emotion you have goes out into this field of consciousness, dude, you're not going to understand shit. And I hate to use that word. You're not going to understand anything, man. It's just not going to make sense. Absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, people are going through these amazing shifts in their consciousness. I mean, they are truly remembering that, we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. This is a dream down here. It's an awesome dream. It's probably one of the greatest dreams in the universe. But this isn't real. But the experience is as real as anything. So when people say, oh, this is just an illusion, this is just a hologram. No, dude, everything's a hologram. The experience of this is, it's just, you keep saying, I know this is real. And then something else happens and it's a deeper level of knowing. And then something else happens and it's a deeper level of knowing. Dude, I don't know what's next because I'm feeling like, I feel so unbelievably blessed with what's happening right now. Like, I don't know, I'm doing videos on the beach talking about, reconnecting people's DNA and reconnecting strings by me just walking around them. I'm talking about alternative memories. I'm talking about the past being as flexible as the future. I'm talking about life being this holographic experience instead of this physical, linear-based reality that we've been told. I could not be happier. And we're going to go back to the past and change the past to live in the kind of moment we want to live in now. Now, how are we going to do this? I don't know. But I am going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out, I already know how to create my life, and that's easy. You decide what you want, you act like you already have it, you feel like you already have it. You're thankful, your gratitude for what you have, for that you already have it. And for those that, for those that are sitting here thinking that this dude is an absolute total lunatic, let me tell you something, man. 6 years ago, I qualified for food stamps, okay? I don't know. It's working out okay for me. And I'm not saying I'm rich. I'm saying I draw to myself these experiences. When I was in Colorado, which is one of my favorite states, when I was in Colorado, every day I would wake up and I would imagine myself living in this beautiful contemporary home. I would imagine myself going for walks on the beach, and I could feel the sand, the wet sand in between my toes. And dude, I did this for like a year while I'm in Colorado, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, I followed my highest instinct, and now I'm here. I'm living my dreams. I created this by putting out into the world, into the universe, in this field of consciousness, that I already had it. That's the only thing that happened. I didn't like come into a bunch of money. No, I didn't. But I'm here, and I'm living it. I can't logically figure out how I'm here living in paradise, other than the reality that I know that I created this by being thankful that I already had it. Being thankful for everything in my life. I don't know. Isn't it getting kind of old to always look at what makes us different? That's not working. You know what I mean? When you spend your time thinking about what the differences are, dude, that's not working. I think it's time we focus on what we have in common, the ideas we share. You know what I mean? It'd be a much better world. And I think when people realize that the external world is simply a reflection of your inner world, and then if you want to change the external world, you change yourself. You change your thoughts. You change your inner beliefs. Then the external world changes. So hey man, that's it. That's all I got. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and subscribe. I'm gonna go ahead and put this other information on that I just love this dude. I mean, his information, it might seem really, really crazy, but man, it makes really perfect sense to me. And since I started applying this information in my life, my life has changed, and it changes pretty quick. So I hope you enjoy it. If you don't like it, just stop, move on to something else. But for those experiencing the Mandela effect, man, I think you might like this. Okay, dude. Peace.
Let us begin by allowing us to read you a newspaper headline. JFK assassinated today in Boston, Massachusetts. This date, November 9th, 1968. What does this mean? This is a parallel reality, different from the one you now consider to be your history. And of course, there are many other versions of this scenario. We once shared with you that another version of your history that you experienced before the present one allowed this particular individual, your President Kennedy, to survive until your 1980s. But the one that we have mentioned today, November 9th, 1968, has a particular meaning to the history that you believe you remember. The idea is that history is not linear. It is holographic and is made of many different kinds of intrusions of parallel realities. At the very least, if not the events themselves, the effects of other events in other realities color what you consider to be your linear history. So to continue this example, the idea to remember is that what you think of history is always changing, always. When you as a collective group decide to shift to a particular parallel reality path, remember that as you become a new society, as you become new people, you also create a new history to go along with that, to make sense out of the choice that you made in the present. Because the past is created from the present, not the other way around. So you have had many histories that you are now unaware of, because every time you change, you wipe the slate and create a new history that appears to be the only history you've ever had. So several years ago, you actually had a different history than what you remember now. But you don't know that. But because we can see the bigger picture and all the lines of intersecting energies between different parallel realities, we can see the path that you've taken. In this particular case, let's say one of the original history choices you made was that your President Kennedy was in fact assassinated in 1968. The reason for this is because near the end of his second term, he was about to reveal the existence of extraterrestrials. The idea is that it actually was revealed. And in that particular parallel history caused so much chaos and so much collapse in your society that he was labeled as the cause of it. And someone assassinated him for that reason. Now, because of the societal collapse in that particular history that went along with the revelation of our existence, you decided to shift as a society and take another path. And to prevent it from happening, you chose a history where he died in 1963. And therefore never had a chance to reveal what he had planned to reveal. However, to illustrate the point that your history isn't linear, that it is affected by ripples from other parallel realities all the time, because the original assassination occurred in 1968 based on the idea of the collapse of society, it created a very strong eddy, a very strong current in the fabric of space-time. So even when you shifted your collective consciousness to the idea of a history in which he died in 1963, effects from the original 1968 still existed and still impacted the new history, which is why Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King were assassinated in 1968. So if you begin to understand how this actually works, you can see that what you consider to be a linear history back in time is actually composed of many different parallel reality ripples and effects that all come together and change every single time that you change your idea of what your present is. That then changes what your idea of your history ought to be in order for that history to have brought you to the new present that you're at, because you still have to do it in a linear way to play the physical reality game. But in understanding this holographic nature of history, you can never really look at the idea of history in a linear way again. You will understand that it is a composite of many different overlapping realities, and it is constantly dynamically changing every time you make any change whatsoever. not just the societal level, but your own personal histories as well. Because as you become a new person, every time you redefine yourself, you create a new history for yourself. Now, if it seems to be the same, again, this is because you have wiped the memory of the old history, and the new history must appear to be the only history that's ever been there in order for it to make sense for the person you've defined yourself to be in present. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't sometimes choose to recreate similar events over and over and over again every time you define yourself and create a similar history to some degree. This does happen because most of you have an agreement not to necessarily go too far in breaking the continuity of your mass consensus reality about what your history ought to be based on who you consider yourselves to be or define yourselves to be in the present. Nevertheless, this points out that you always, every single moment, have a choice to change your past as you change your present. And to understand that the more you wrap your mind around this, the more you allow yourself to understand how this works and how it's structured more holographically, you have more opportunity to, within relevant parameters for your life, break that continuity more and more and more. And the breaking of that continuity will create more, shall we say, fluidity and flexibility within how you experience space and time, which means you will experience an increase in synchronicity, which is physical reality's linear space-time way of showing you that all things existed once, that they're all interconnected. You will increase your experiences of things like déjà vu, which is experiencing the idea of the forward arrow of time and the backward arrow of time simultaneously, because you have the feeling in déjà vu that you know what's about to happen because it feels like it's already happened before. So you're getting both arrows of time simultaneously by expanding your consciousness to incorporate that idea. You will increase many other kinds of experiences in physical reality. But what it will mostly allow you to do when you really understand this concept is truly be more lucid in the physical reality dream and truly be more conscious about the kinds of choices you are making, the kinds of ways in which you define yourself and what's true for you, and exactly what that does to the entire linear space-time reality when you do that. And it will give you more understanding of how you are creating your reality experience, because physical reality is just a projection. It's just a dream. And it's all about becoming more and more lucid in the physical dream and waking up in that lucidity. And then knowing more and more, and again, whatever way is relevant for you, that you can bend the idea of space and time because you're actually doing it all the time anyway. It's just that you're becoming more conscious of the mechanism that you're using. That's what's going on in this transformational age. You're becoming more conscious of what you're already doing. It's no longer being seen in an illusionary way as if it were real. You're beginning to break through the veil and see it for the illusion that it is. Now, this won't completely go away while you still choose to be physical, but it will give you a lot more flexibility in how you experience your physical reality. It will still always be relevant. Whatever comes up will always be relevant for the life path you chose, for the theme you chose to explore. It won't go beyond that relevance. But there are different degrees of relevance for many different people on your planet. So many of you will start to experience more magical experiences in physical reality. You will see that it is more flexible, more synchronous, and always has been. It's just, again, that you're becoming more and more aware of it. So the idea is that in the future, your history will really start to more consciously match what you define yourself to be in the present. So the future of history, the future of the past, is very open, very flexible, and you're beginning to understand that the past is just as indeterminate as the future is. That the probabilities of what might become your future also are the probabilities of what might become your past. Because these are both projections from the only place you actually exist, the present. That's all there is. There is only here, there is only now. So everything that is happening, everything that you think will happen, everything you think has happened, is just another projection, another reflection, another perspective of the now. And that's why when you change the now, everything else has to change, both the future and the past, because they're just reflections of what you're defining yourself to be now, and are as ephemeral as a reflection in a mirror. They do not have real solidity. You play the game that they do, and that's fine. But now is the time to allow yourself some leeway, some permission to break that continuity to the degree that truly serves you to experience yourself as the creator of your reality experience. Because remember, as we have said before, your natural state is one of spirit. You're all still in spirit right now. It's just that you're dreaming that you're not. That's what physical reality is. You have never left spirit. You can't leave spirit, but you can dream that you can. And that's what this is. And we're sharing that dream together by agreeing to do so. And remember that you are redefining yourself billions of times per second. Your consciousness is slipping through billions of parallel reality frames per second. So at any given moment, you are always back to zero. You always have a clean slate. You always have the ability to redefine yourself in whatever way is truly relevant for the theme you chose to explore. And there's a lot of leeway in that. None of you are stuck in any way, shape, or form, especially not in this day and age. This is all about understanding consciousness, that you are an expression of consciousness, and that